Hey everyone, it's November 16th, 2016. I'm in Vancouver, actually just outside of Vancouver, Coquitlam, right?
Coquitlam.
Coquitlam. And I'm at the True North Jiu-Jitsu.
True North Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes, and this is Professor Giacomo. Thank you for
Thank you, Rob.
bringing me onto the mats and letting me in your place and doing this. So before we get any further, if you could just tell us a bit more about your background in your jiu-jitsu resume and how you got here.
Yeah, it's kind of a long story. So I started one about 17 years ago. I was 10 to 11 years old, and my older brother got me into jiu-jitsu. You know, he was a big guy on martial arts.
Okay.
And first school came into my small town in 1999, and that's when we joined, you know. At the time, there was not really a kids program. I was just training with the adults and having fun. And so I was training on and off during, you know, those 4 years. When I was about 15 years old, I did my first World Championship. And I medaled, bronze medal at the Worlds at the legendary Tijuca Tennis Club in Rio de Janeiro.
At 15?
At 15 years old, at the juvenile blue belt division.
Yeah.
And that, it opened up at that point I said, you know, this is all what I want to do for my life, and I want to continue, I want to make it to black belt. And I want to share jiu-jitsu with people at that point, you know. It was, when I medaled at Worlds, I had that feeling that, wow, jiu-jitsu taught me that even if you're not good at something, if you work really hard, you can improve. So that for me was it solidified that concept, you know. And then at that point, I started to train pretty much like a professional. I was just going to school and then just doing conditioning and training since I'm 15. At 17 years old, that was more like 2007, they announced the World Championship being moved from Brazil to California.
Oh, okay.
So at that point, I was 17. I had just finished high school, and I said, you know, I'm going to California. My parents really supported me. And then I went on a trip. I knew one guy, and he picked me up at the airport. I met a lot of people just like living the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. And then at that point, I was a purple belt. I was 17 to 18. I was just turning 18. And then I started to meet friends in California, and I fell in love with California, and I noticed that there's a lot of jiu-jitsu out there. And then I ended up, after a few months, at the University of Jiu-Jitsu in San Diego, training with Saulo and Xande Ribeiro. They, right away I felt like home, you know, the energy felt amazing. And I went training under the Ribeiro brothers' mentorship from my purple belt to my black belt. Nice. And then this year, 2016, we started the True North Jiu-Jitsu School. That's, you know, me kind of starting my own path in Jiu-Jitsu, and sharing my view, my way. It's like a collection of all the years, all the people that had an influence on my Jiu-Jitsu. That's what True North Jiu-Jitsu is.
Okay, nice. And that's like as of this month too, right?
As this month, yes. Yeah.
So I'm one of the first visitors at True North. I feel quite honored.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a great story to say. 15 in the Worlds, and so how was it going to San Diego back then? I mean, was there a lot of networking with a lot of clubs back then? I mean, no, now it's huge, but like 10 years ago, I don't know, like...
that
was...
In 07, and it's, you know, it was interesting. I feel very fortunate to see the evolution that Jiu-Jitsu had in the past 7 years, because in 7-10 years, it evolved more than it has ever evolved in terms of network. And you know, when I came to California, it was hard to find even YouTube videos on Jiu-Jitsu. And you know, and I had a few friends from my hometown in Brazil. And then from there, I just started to connect. And right away, I went to a school who basically, they were connected to my school back in Brazil. It was a Lotus Club. and then I trained there. Yeah,
Lotus. Yeah.
Lotus Club, and you know, at the time Givanildo Santana was there, and we're training at this huge facility called No Limits. I don't think the facility exists anymore, but it was great times. I learned lots from different people, and I started learning English. It was everything so new for me, and you know, and then at that point, when I met Saulo and Shanji, my network and everything, it kind of, you know, it streamed down to the University of Jiu-Jitsu. Nice. And old friends from Brazil. Yeah. You know?
Cool. Yeah. That's like a lot of heart to get there. Yeah.
You know, I feel like I really believed in Jiu-Jitsu, the power of changing a life.
Yeah, I was going to comment on this actually, and now I think it's perfect time is I saw that tonight in your class when you're teaching. It's like as soon as you stepped on the mats and class started, just the passion just emanates from you, right? You're very passionate about it. You're very enthusiastic about it. Your eyes light up, and you're a lot louder, and it's like, yeah, jiu-jitsu, let's do it, right? And I was like, wow, you know, like such a great energy you bring to this club. So now you have your club here. How long have you been here? How did you get from there to here?
I kind of skipped that. Yeah. So, well, it was like very interesting because I didn't plan. I came for a visit with my wife, and at the time I was in San Diego. I was a brown belt, and I was kind of unsure where I was gonna go. At the time I was attending college for exercise science down in San Diego, and I graduated. You know, that my visa was about to expire. I need to make a move. You know, I was already 4 years in San Diego. I was done with school, and I felt like as a brown belt, you know, I felt like I could already share some things with people. And then I came to Vancouver, man, and it was like a love at first sight. I loved the mountains and the ocean. Yes. Yes. And I think that back home kind of reminded me of back home in Brazil, and I felt I'm really sensitive to nature and energy, and man, this place is kind of magical. And right away, I was here for the week, and I said with my wife by the mountains, look at the mountains, I said, well, how about we maybe come here and maybe start up our club here. And then my wife wanted to go to school at the same time, so she found a great school that suit her needs here. And then I came along with her, and it was kind of like, let's see what this is happen, where this is gonna take us. And you know, and then starting jiu-jitsu here was basically I started teaching my wife, and I rent a place. You know, I was subleasing a place from a Taekwondo club, and I started very small, like everyone else, and I had my wife, was my only student, and I built this student for student, day by day. Nice. And then shortly my wife got pregnant, and then and my son was also born here, so it was a huge connection that we really connected to Canada right away. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's amazing. That's such a great story.
No.
Because like for this past year, I've been told by all my friends, like my coach Ari, he loves the place. He's come out here before, and he's like, oh yes, you know, if you're in town, you gotta come here. Sunshine Coast guys love you, and I was just there with them. And they were all like, yeah, you definitely have to make it Giacomo's, like, great place. And I was like, you know, it's like, now is the time, right? And it's, you put so much into this, and it shows, right? So it's amazing, especially coming from, you know, one student, you know, up to this.
Yes.
So tonight, it was a lot of the fundamentals, right? A lot of I know you have a seminar this weekend, so not to give everything away, but what would you say, like, starting off, for the person that walks through the door, what would you say like to them, their key things to look in, like to focus on when they're just starting into jiu-jitsu?
I think everyone, when they walk through that door of your dojo, they're looking for something, right?
Oh, yes.
And sometimes it's not necessarily jiu-jitsu itself. I try to make the class, I try to look at my students as not as competitors, not as someone who is a athlete or has athleticism. So my first concern when somebody comes to my gym is to make them comfortable. You know, make sure that I can deliver what they want. You know, I think the four bases of our school would be the friendliness, the cleanness, and the legitimacy of our program. You know, because I compete worldwide, and I try to bring the best of jiu-jitsu out there to my students. I try to keep my facility clean and friendly so people can have a good time. And then at that point, once they're having a good time, my first focus is to help them with their mobility, with recognizing how their body moves. Jiu-jitsu is based off of leverage, and leverage comes from momentum, from moving on your body naturally, saving energy. So I think I try to make them feel comfortable, get a good workout, and feel good about their body, you know, feel like just get their self-esteem up first. And then at that point, build the techniques after. I think the mechanics is something very hard for some people in the beginning, you know?
Oh yeah, there's days I still, when I see some kind of move and I'm like, okay, wait, how do you move him? And I gotta think it through like really slowly, because I mean, I know, especially right off the bat, it's like, oh, my body doesn't move that way. And it's like, sure it does, just give it time.
Yes, yes. So yeah, for sure, you know, we have 3 levels of classes. We have beginners, intermediate, and advanced. Mm-hmm. So we try to have at least some classes that we don't do full sparring, but we base a lot on the biogymnastics. You know, it's just like the natural movements of your body. I focus a lot on that for people to be able to do jiu-jitsu without a partner. From there, we put a partner so they can work with a partner. Yeah, so first is also when they're able to move well and they're able to move natural on their body, they also prevent injuries. Mm-hmm. That's a huge concern for us, mm-hmm. you know, as a beginner. So, you know, and then the bases come all together, you know, keeping the place friendly so people don't get hurt. Yeah. People have a good time. People have friends here. This is like their temple, you know.
Like another home. That's
an extension of their home, you know, it's an extension of your home. So, you know, we try to keep this place as like anyone can be comfortable from any walks of life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So then down the road, once they have those body movements going, what do you say, like, because that for blue belt, you know, I'm sure you agree this a lot of people see it as such a wide level, and a lot of people drop off at that point. So what would you give as an advice to keep them focused and keep them on that and working for the next belt?
Man, I feel very sad when a blue belt quits jiu-jitsu, because my belief is, I mean, sometimes life just happens and you gotta quit. So I understand that, but quitting as a blue belt for lack of motivation, it's a 50-50 on the instructor and on the student, you know, itself. Sometimes you can motivate people, but I think as a white belt, you should focus on have fun, because as long as you're having fun, you're not going to quit. How can you quit something that you have fun and it's good for you? So I think people need to find the why they're in jiu-jitsu, because I think the why I wanted to do jiu-jitsu was what you know, drove me to accomplish these things. And I really believed in that jiu-jitsu could help me. So I see people that come here to lose weight, and I see people that come here for the self-defense, for the social aspect. And everyone, you know, if you know what you want, you can start to, how am I going to get what I want from this? And then when you have goals, it makes more sense than just kind of going for something you have no goals. So I think just like anything in life, you got to set those goals and reasonable goals and then visualize them, you know. I like to focus a little bit on a little bit of the self-defense aspect for beginners, because in case they quit, they at least can take home that self-defense principle. But our beginner class is not limited to self-defense. We also, you know, merge, and we kind of have a mix of the transitions of how the self-defense actually transitions to sport jiu-jitsu. And but I think have fun is key.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. It's funny too, because I'm listening to you and I'm going over myself, my history of like how I came across. And it was pretty much as a white belt, you know, when you came in. I know there's a lot of people out there that had that idea that when they first started, they're counting taps, and you know they're like, he's getting better than me. I'm gonna be better than him, you know, and but then all of a sudden, you know, one day it kind of, for me anyways, it just kind of opened up where it was like, you know what, you know, I'm just gonna work on my level here. I'm not gonna try and go hard. I'm not gonna try and tap. I'm just gonna try and defend and work on this technique or that technique, and all of a sudden everything just melts away, and then you're having a lot more fun, and you're coming out to hang out with you're having those favorite people in class to hang out with, and yeah, that's exactly what happened with me. So it's kind of cool that I'm listening to you kind of retell what happened to me. Is you know, mind reader or something.
You know, I think that it's like going back to that ego, leave your ego outside the mat type of thing. Yeah. It's hard to leave your ego outside the mat. Sometimes nowadays a few black belts, a lot of them, they have ego too. You know, everyone in different levels have their egos somehow. So I feel that's a human being lifetime battle is against your ego. So sometimes at first it's hard to leave your ego outside the mat. But I think being competitive in the beginning, it can definitely ruin a good experience, a healthy experience, because you're gonna get disappointed and you're gonna have bad feelings and you're going to hurt yourself. And if you come out of my class having bad feelings and injured, it wasn't a good class for me, you know.
Yeah. There's an instructor back at my club in Victoria that he always starts off and ends off his class with his 3 rules, which is have fun, don't get hurt, and learn something. He's like, you know, the first one's important, have fun. The second one, you don't want to get hurt. The third one, if you learn something, if you don't learn something but you still had fun, and you know, at least you had fun, right? Eventually one day you will learn something.
It's hard to retain jiu-jitsu right off the bat, man. It ain't easy. You know, people sometimes, I feel the jiu-jitsu nowadays, most schools, their system is for people who are already kind of mind tough, are already a little bit challenged themselves. I think you know, at Helio Gracie always preach the jiu-jitsu is for everyone, and to a level, I believe 100% to that. You have to give some people a time to build them up, you know. If you put them right on the beginning on a situation where they're gonna lose or win, and you know, you will start to kind of right off the bat, like, of course you're gonna lose in the beginning because you don't know anything, but a lot of people are not ready for that defeat. And sometimes you just gotta give it some time. And sometimes if you don't get, and then you lose the guy in the next month, and maybe, you know, he would change his life through jiu-jitsu, never gonna be a world champion. So, you know, I think you're never too late, you know. I think the best things out of jiu-jitsu that I've taken, it didn't come from tournaments.
No, it's all right here.
Is the day by day.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I have one more question for you. It's the, people call it the dreaded last question and all. But so I have if you're in the Worlds and it's the finals, who would you like to go up against? You know, who do you think would be the best match that have the most fun?
That's a very complex question. If I was on the finals of the World Championship, I don't want the best guy to be there, but I think the best guy that day will be there regardless. Then I used to fight medium heavyweight, and this year I competed my last tournament as a medium heavyweight, the World Championship 2016. But then right after that, I moved down to middleweight.
Okay.
there's a lot of guys that I would like to go against, but I think at this point in the medium heavy division, I guess Leandro Lo is a guy that everyone is a fan of his jiu-jitsu, and I'm sure I could learn something from him. I'm sure, you know, going against a guy like Leandro Lo, he's kind of the guy on that division. And then on the middleweight, in this case, would be Otávio de Souza. I mean, these are the world champions right now, and they have the most complete game. And you know, if I can get to the final and then fight against the world champion, I think that would be a dream come true. You know. Yeah.
That's awesome. I have a friend I met over in Japan when he was there this year. His second round was against Kayatera, who had a bye in the first round, and he was like, and he was like, really, you know.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to train with actually literally some of the best guys in the world and some legends, you know. I've taken seminars and sparred with members of the Gracie family. You know, I've competed against members of the Gracie family in tournaments, and also, you know, lately, I remember being a white belt, blue belt when I medaled at Worlds, André Galvão, and those guys were already black belts. So for me now, just being a black belt and then qualify for Worlds and then look next to the bullpen and see Leandro Lo, see André Galvão. Leandro Lo is more the new generation, but like looking at André Galvão and Romulo Barral and those guys, you know, I definitely, if I have a chance to fight somebody who was a black belt when I was a blue belt, that would be like, you know, like playing ball with Jordan or something like that. Like, or, you know, you see somebody for years and then all of a sudden you playing with him, you know. I think for me, man, that's like from where I come from. My first instructor was a blue belt, 4 stripes, and, you know, there's not much jiu-jitsu available. And I, you know, for me, being among the best and, man, it's amazing feeling. Yeah, I just have feelings of gratitude for everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I could see that. Just like, you know, the people you grew up like idolizing, and then being on the mats with them. Like, I can't even imagine that feeling. Yeah.
It's pretty strong. You gotta do lots of meditation, and you gotta stay calm. You know, because sometimes it still hits me. You know, like, I know I'm there, and now I have to look at them as opponents or whatever. But you know, I'm 27 right now. I competed in the past 10 years. I competed at Worlds 9 times, and 2 of them, my last 2 as a black belt. And man, every time I go is a learning experience. Is the butterflies, is looking, you know, it's challenge yourself, is going up, you know, against the best in the world and just trying your best, and then going home and going with my family, come back to my students, and man, try to do that for as long as I can.
That's awesome. That's the dream right there. Well, thank you again for allowing me on your mats and doing this interview. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure.
So if you're in Vancouver, just outside in Coquitlam, True North Jiu-Jitsu, I'll have the links up for it on the site, and this is Professor Giacomo. I'll have a link up for him as well. Check him out if you're in the area. Yeah. Until next time. See you on the mats. Os.